Hello, product people. Welcome to the Product for Product podcast, hosted by Matt Green, data advocate and product manager, and Masha Mikanovsky, product leader and author. Our goal is to serve the product community by helping you find products that can help make your work in product management easier. Thanks for joining us on another episode of the Product for Product podcast.
Welcome back. On today's episode, Michelle and I are happy to have Igor Voloshin with us to speak about the tool User Interviews. Igor is the discovery team head at CoinsPaid. Let's dive in. How you doing, Igor?
Hello, I'm great. How are you?
Doing wonderful. Welcome to the show. Hello, Michelle.
Hey, Matt. Hey, Igor. Welcome to the show. And today we're also very excited because you are actually calling us from Russia. And I think you are our first
I think so.
guest on the show from Russia, right? Yeah, this is going to be episode 84. And so it's great to have someone from all over the world. We have people from other countries. And you're one of the good guys. I know that you are. When I met you at the UXDX conference in May in New York, we had some great discussions also about the situation and stuff. There are some really great people from Russia, and they just got into this situation. So,
Yeah, unfortunately, we are in the horrible times currently, and I'm still living in Moscow. That's my choice because it's not only about, I guess, the place where I live. It's just like I really like my friends here who also support my views as well. You know, my kid is just raising. This summer was great for camping, and I guess I just hope that we will get back to the ways we used to in a short period of time.
yeah, and better.
Yep. Well, we can have fun today talking about user interviews. So
Exactly.
let's definitely hop in. I'm looking forward to the conversation. So
Yeah, so professionally, tell us who you are, who is Igor, and where did you get to where you are?
Okay, so so first of all, my English is not native enough, so I can do mistakes for that.
Don't worry at all.
In terms of my journey towards Discovery Head, I guess I have like two parts of my life. The first part was more connected with marketing in financial industries, and this is the moment or the period of time when I was learning what I want to do in my life in terms of the main idea. You know, my main thing that I really love to do is to help people in different ways. And for me, marketing and public relationship at some point was the way to help people make decisions with less stress. And then by kind of learning what can I do, what are the tools inside of the marketing, I've certainly learned that I don't have enough of them. And at some point, I've decided to move into user research and in order to learn what are the actual ways people are thinking, doing things, making decisions, what are their needs. And this way, I've kind of managed my journey towards starting from the researcher who did a lot of digging job to the discovery head that I'm currently in. In terms of names, people love to tell big names from their companies. Like in terms of, we had my user research journey started at the RedMatch Robot. This is one of the I think still the largest mobile outsource company. So they were developing and they are developing mobile apps for different banks and mobile operators. And then I moved to Deloitte first. So again, it was at the times when Deloitte was in Russia. And then I moved to BCG. Again, BCG also quit Russian market. But a lot of people went out for Russia in other countries. And so we kind of spread our digital expertise around the world this way. And then I've moved to Awesome. That's a Singapore startup where I've been learning a lot about service design and helping to design internal processes the way it will support customer experience at the best level. And now I'm CoinsPaid. The main product is crypto processing. What I'm trying to do is to make the company even more customer centric and to help people make decisions, like, better decisions or some decisions at all, based on the deeper understanding of user behavior. And this knowledge is really an important part for product development, especially when your product is kind of worldwide. In terms of blockchain is worldwide, you can use it anywhere in the world. And because of that, there are so much barriers to. On one hand, you can learn about the whole world, but at the end of the day, you have to do a single product for all of them, and that's where complicated things happen.
Yeah, I think that's really important to mention. With CoinsPaid, it's crypto, so crypto space can be really difficult to understand, I think, when you first get into it. And so I think like understanding the users, developing a solid product to really help onboard new customers and get them comfortable with it, with digital currency like that, I think is really important. So pretty excited about the work you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's amazing experience. So, and it's really great that you've been in all of these organizations, because you've seen so many things, I'm sure, that gave you this broader understanding of what customer and user centric is all about, right? So let's dive into the topic of our podcast today, user interviews. That is actually the name of the product we're going to talk about, right?
yeah, that says, yeah.
Perfect.
So userinterviews.com is the product, and the thing is that their name is quite direct in terms of what they do.
Right. Yeah.
Which is a very apt name. We talked before about user testing, which is also a great name, because that's the what we're talking about, right? Okay, so let's talk a bit about it. So first of all, what are you using user interviews for?
Okay, based on the which is the name, we actually use it for the interviews. The thing is that at the moment where I've joined CoinsPaid quite recently, only back in December, and they didn't have any processes or any experience to when they would invite people to talk to them and have this gain this knowledge about what they were doing. So I was trying to find ways and quick ways to find people around the world in order to get the information, to get some stories about their experience with crypto. And basically what we are constantly using it for is to find people who have certain experience in certain spheres, because it's like, crypto is pretty huge in terms of it's the end crypto users who actually pay with crypto or have their wallets, transfer funds. Then there are different kind of companies who make decisions on whether to implement crypto processing or not, to accept crypto or maybe to invest in it. And then within the companies, there are also lots of different roles that are also involved in this kind of process of managing funds. And depending on how large is the company, the larger it is, the more specific roles they've got. And that's where we can get the experience in order to understand how should we reform or redesign our product or develop it further to make their life easier, because there are a lot of things to still needs to be figured out. Crypto is a very fast-paced developing topic, and and again, because it's worldwide, there are so many countries who are they are figuring out how to legislate it, what kind of laws should be there, what kind of standards, how to keep customers safe, and we constantly need to learn about it as well. Mm-hmm. And again, to implement it into our product.
Mm-hmm. Right. So is user interviews as a product, is it just about interviewing people like we would interview them here on the podcast, or is it more than that? Is it also in the past products that we talked about in this series, we're talking about testing of specific features as well, with moderated and unmoderated tests. So does user interviews include functionality like that?
Well, the core product, I guess, of the user interviews is the recruiting itself, recruiting, scheduling, like scheduling, and depending on from England or from America you are, it's scheduling or scheduling. So basically, basically for me, it's the best tool to find people, and then when you are able to get them on the call, you can do whatever you want with them in terms of you can do user interviews, you can do some kind of surveys or tests, but not so they're not providing any additional tools, I guess. I may be wrong because our experience and what we were using it for maybe kind of quite focused on the user interviews. So maybe they have some functionality, but we haven't yet used it yet. Yeah, so I guess this is the common thing that the main thing that they do is recruiting and making it as effortless as possible.
Right. Okay. So the recruiting is they will find the people for you based on the personas of people that you're looking for. Is that what it is?
Well, so yeah, the idea is that you kind of create a brief describing or selecting different parameters. Who are you looking for? You are adding up screening questions. Participants should answer, and then depending on the question, they will rate it and have kind of rating in percentages. The screening, like the full screening, might give you 100%. So this would probably mean if you are good at screening questions, it would mean that you have found the perfect fit for the interview. And as far as I understood them, so they have a limited number of countries where they currently provide the service in terms of finding and recruiting people. And they have their own database of registered participants, but also it seems like they are using some additional agency or a network of agencies who also look for people, especially when it's a B2B specific roles and you need to kind of dig deeper into finding them. So this is more about it.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah. So I believe that when we talked, our expert here was our guest for the first 2 episodes, Kevin Hawkins, and he was talking about panels. That's what he called that. So I believe this is probably the same as panels where there is and he was talking about some products, how many they have, like 10 of thousands or millions of people available. So I guess that's similar to that. Do you happen to know, what numbers are they saying that they have of people in their panels?
I can kind of look at it, but I guess they were claiming that they have millions of people there, and the limited amount of countries is something like 10 or 15, something around that. So it's definitely US, a lot of countries in Europe, Canada as well, and they lack Latin America and Africa, and that's also one of the part of the countries where we are focusing on currently, especially in Latin America. And so this is kind of downside of the service. So I cannot cover the whole world with it rather than a limited number of countries. But what I can tell you is that in kind of regarding the comment you've done on the panel term, in my understanding, panels are, kind of ways to represent a certain slice of population in the country, and in terms of userinterview.com, it seems like they are constantly adding just more and more people, and sometimes I have received those people who would I talk with, for them it was the first time ever they were using or they were giving an interview, so it seemed like they are really trying to find specific people for you. And this is really incredible because we have really kind of specific queries.
That's great.
And it's amazing. Yeah,
that's really great. I wonder how they do it behind the scenes. How much is it a service that they have of people that actually looking for you versus an AI or some type of deep databases that they can get into of people that were interested to talk about something but never had the chance because they never fit into any type of interview.
And they reference it as a new the panel is something new, and to your point, Igor, that it says 3 million participants in 7 different countries. it was interesting. They make a point that it says one qualified participant under 1 hour. So it seems like they can deliver pretty quickly based upon their database of panel participants.
Yeah. And I guess that the question of speed really refers to the users themselves, because I guess when I post a project and it's the question how fast will they look at it and just kind of have an interest in it. But yeah, I was really surprised when I've posted the first project. We were looking for owners of the companies or people who are making decisions regarding the choosing the crypto processing. And I think they've delivered the first respondents not in an hour, but I think in a day or two. And I was really after the first interview we had, because I first filled the whole list for 10 or 11 people. I approved them all. Then I got this calendar set up because it was integrated with my calendar, and I've been able to choose time slots where I would like to have those interviews with them. And so then the users whom I approved, they were able to choose a time slot that would suit them best. And then we had this interview. The first interview was with the guy from the UK. He was a co-owner of a music studio, and they used crypto as a way to receive payments, and people would rent their studios to play music, to record music that they play. And his story was so fascinating for me because it was the first time I was ever listening to a person, thinking about crypto in a for really normal and typical offline business. It was so amazing that it's already there, and it's so cool.
That's the power of really talking with people and understanding their needs and their jobs to be done and how they see life.
And that's a great value of this tool to make that point there. So they're able to access that panel of participants and deliver someone that you might not have normally had access to. So that's pretty cool.
Absolutely. So let's say that you want to test something. You have not just questions, but you want to show them something, or maybe even just the interviews themselves. Where do you conduct them? Are they conducted within user interviews, or you have to take them outside of user interviews to do the interview?
The interview we were holding in our Google Meet. So basically, they are integrating with the calendar, and when a user chooses the time slot and just a normal event comes up, so you kind of go to your Google Meet button, just click on it, and here you go, you start your conversation. So there is no need in additional things, and actually you can choose which Google Meet or Zoom you would like to use for the conversation. And I guess in some sense they are really custom, there are a lot of customization there. So I guess there might be other options as well. I've just never used it yet. I also know that they are customizable in terms of incentives, the way you would like to pay them. Either they can pay them for you by offering gift cards, or I was kind of asking whether I can pay in crypto to those participants directly. And they said, yeah, okay, no problem with that. So yeah, basically, I don't really know about the amount of tools they have for different kind of surveys or usability tests. We usually do it on our own software that we use. An example, my UX researcher, she uses Zoom, and she prefers Zoom because she can share her screen with the user on the other side, and kind of not just sharing the screen, but rather giving management. So the user can manage her screen and her cursor in order to go through the prototype. And so this is the way we are doing it. But yeah, I guess there are more things to do. Yeah, I'm not a proficient user yet of the user interviews, but I'm kind of learning and trying.
Yeah. So it seems like the strength that you're using for right now is mostly those panels and getting the right people for the test or the interviews that you need. And maybe that's also why they chose that name, because maybe their most proficient feature is to find user interviews.
Yeah, I guess you're right here because I've been watching or not watching. I've been reading their history, their startup history, and there was three guys who were trying to create come up with ideas for their startup. So they already had a startup. I think they were burning money when they had, I think, 100K left. They just understood that the thing that they were doing was not really working well, and they decided to pivot, but not just to pivot, but actually to come up with a new idea. So they were trying to come up with ideas, and the way they would test it were they were trying to find people with whom they can connect and talk about it. And so they were trying family, friends, connections anywhere, and they just understood that the hardest part of their testing their hypothesis was to find people to talk to, and especially when it's specific people or specific needs. And at some point they just understood, I guess, this idea that it's really hard to find the right people, and they decided to try to make it as simple as possible. And I guess the reason why I've chosen them at the moment, at that moment where I was trying to recruit people, is their simplicity to initiate the project, and without any limitation and barriers. So it was pretty easy and simple and kind of cool.
Yeah, it's interesting sometimes. I mean, we see it all as product people, how companies are starting, they don't have a specific direction, then they found their niche, and here it seemed like their niche is very, very specific to finding the people. And we, like you said, we do know how hard it is to find people, especially that they could be all over the world and in different cultures and different places. They might have different problems that we cannot think about if we just interview people in next to our homes, right? So it's a very real problem that they're solving there. It will be interesting also to see how they expand it into the future, if they're going to stay just in that recruitment, or maybe they will be swallowed by another company that need more people and but offer also additional features, for user testing, like conducting the test on their platform and storing the test or analysis on their platform, and repositories for tests on their platform. So things like that other products that we explored are also doing.
Yeah, I don't really know their strategy, but it seems like they have a lot of space where they can expand further on, and probably the main thing that they should keep in mind, that what is the next jobs to be done after the recruiting. For example, for us, it's mostly about processing those things into insights, or on the other side, it could be the management of participants itself, because we have, like, with their help, we are finding external people to talk to, but also we've got our own clients, and I know that they have a number of features that will help you to manage your own participants. And for us, it's really important because we don't have a lot of them. I mean, like, in general, we are we don't have millions of users because we are a B2B company, and we definitely don't want to burn out our peers with whom we talk, because sometimes we have we've got a lot of questions to ask our clients, but at the same time, if we're not delivering value back to them in a certain pace, they are starting questioning us whether they need those to do those interviews, because they are expecting us to solve their issues. And what we do, we come to the client, we ask questions, then we decide whether to what is the priority of this issue that they're telling us, and maybe we're kind of putting it on the top shelf and forgetting about it. And people are actually expecting those changes, and that's the one of the issues that you might have with communicating with your clients a lot.
You mentioned integrating with your calendar earlier. While I'm checking them out, they seem to be focused on integrations and connectivity. Are you integrating with anything else with them?
Well, actually, I guess not yet, because for us, connecting with Google Meet was actually enough. I mean, for recruiting and user interviews, we are quite new. As a team, we are quite new in the company. And for example, next Thursday, I'm going to recruit or to hire a research ops person who will be making our processes more, not professional, I wouldn't say professional, but
robust
or at least, not, we will not build, we will not invent bicycle every single project, but we would have some kind of stable processes in order. Yeah, repeatable processes, or at least, written down. Because I really love to invent bicycles every single time. Because for me, it's, every single project, I want to, kind of put maximum effort in it and to find maximum insight. But that sometimes it's just too much. Yeah, I also know that for in regards with the integrations, I guess we don't really have a lot to offer them. We've got Salesforce as our CRM, but I guess that's there is no easy way to integrate with Salesforce, and as I can imagine, and that's why it would be really hard to just do it in a simple 2 or 3 clicks.
Yeah, they have a API in beta right now that will allow you to hook up to your CRMs, and so that's pretty interesting. That part of their strategy seems to be that integrations and allowing customers to import records from CRMs such as Salesforce. That seems to be a part of their strategy, long-term strategy, as we mentioned earlier, just around connectivity. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm also checking it out. I mean, checking the integration. They also got the SurveyMonkey example, or it's at least this is something that I know. They've got Qualtrics, which is also very well-known software. I guess for us, it's also, we are not yet developed, I mean, as a research team to have a really kind of complex research. But as I can imagine, if you are a huge company and you are, recruiting hundreds of people every month, that's something that you definitely need. And so I guess, for me, it's really hard to imagine how the large companies work. I don't have such experience. I mean, in terms of when you've got, 10 or 15 researchers having, 20, 30 projects at the same time, how are they constantly finding the right people? That's a really interesting field for me to learn yet. But yeah, I think integrations are the things that help you to do such things and to enable you to do this.
As a large company, probably is able to mix in with their recruits and panels with your current opportunities in Salesforce and HubSpot, and that way you have a central, they call it a research hub. So you have that centralized hub for all your participants. So
yeah.
So I guess that's part of the strategy there.
They do mention on their website that they have recruitments for moderated and unmoderated searches, but they don't say where these testing are done. So that's a bit an interesting point there, that they mention it, but it's hard to tell by the website if, you conduct those moderated and unmoderated on their site. But they also have a roadmap with some future functionalities, about things they are planning to build. And I was while I was looking at it, I was trying to guess which roadmapping product they were using, if it's one of those that we talked about in the past here. In general, they are also talking about smarter approach to unmoderated research. So it is also a bit hard to tell from what they were saying, what does that mean? But it does seem like it's mostly the focus on the panels for sure. One of the things we are asking our guests is what is the 3 favorite features and 3 least favorite features of the products they're using. And one of the hopes that we have is that these companies are listening to this and they will be able to, hear from users feedback about what they like and what they don't like. But in this specific episode, it's going to be interesting also. So if anyone from User Interviews is listening to us, tell us what is in the future. Are you planning to expand to other areas of user testing, or maybe you are already and we just don't know because we are limited in resources here at Product for Product. So tell us what are the favorite and least favorite features?
So basically, I think the first one that really was surprising for me is the ability to chat with the participant before I approve them. So basically, I have the screening questions here in front of me, but I still couldn't decide whether I want to invite a person or not. And by sending a few messages and receiving replies, it gets much more clearer whether I want to invite a person. That's one thing. The other thing is the ability to kind of ask user interviews to pay incentives, and they are using some kind of additional third-party service with a gift card, and basically a participant can choose the card that will suit his or her interests in the best possible way. And that's really cool because sometimes I know that they're one of their rivals are using other strategy. They are just they're paying participants straight on the PayPal. But I do understand that not all countries have PayPal. And it would be, I think, beneficial to have both options. So either you want a gift card that you can spend on Amazon, iTunes for something, and then you can have PayPal just if you want to pay for certain things. And I really wish I really wish at some point userinterviews.com will use crypto as a payment method for their participants.
Absolutely.
Yes, that's right.
And you're the one that set up the budget, I'm sure, right? So you set up how much you want to pay for their.
So they have a kind of suggestion tool as a calculator, which you use to kind of ask for what kind of incentives should be there. But you set up the price for the incentives. You basically choose who will pay you or the userinterviews.com. And the thing about payments is not about incentives, but in general, one of the coolest things for me, and I think the main reason why I've used userinterviews.com, they are asking to be paid only after you complete the project. So basically, with zero budget, I had just an approval from my manager that I want to use a certain amount of money for this research. I've started the recruitment. I've had 10 interviews. And after those interviews, I received the invoice for the first time. So it was really amazing. Because I do receive value first and then pay money.
And that's excellent.
Yeah. It's not a feature, but I mean, on one hand, it's really a feature of the product itself.
Absolutely.
The service
Good
itself.
Experience. Yeah.
It's a great experience. Exactly. So whether it is an actual feature that they developed or the way that they process things and give you the features first and the value first, then they wowed you there. So that's great. That's great to hear. And what are the least favorite features?
I
processes.
Don't actually have a lot of them. No, I don't actually have a lot of them.
That's a good thing.
They have some. But they have this really strange step when you are calculating your incentives offer. They have first of all, it's not inside of your of your account. You have to go to their kind of website, external website for everyone. And while you're going through the steps, you kind of choose parameters, and before they will show you this offer or the result of calculations, they would ask for your email. But at the same time, there is a skip button. But it's, because this calculator is being used for asking for emails for leads, I never saw this button until the sales manager told me that there is a button there. You just click on it, and then you go straight to the next screen with the budget. So this is one thing. I guess such calculators should be just integrated into the process where you're trying to come up with the project brief. Then the second one, at the moment, it's really not straightforward. Well, at least for me, as a user, how our two things are interconnected. So on one hand, we have got this rating with rating of the users. Then there is, kind of a menu from which you can choose 3 types or 3 levels of fit. So like poor fit, best fit, or kind of possible fit. And then there is a third thing called, are you approving the person or kind of declining the person? So at currently, it's not really that interconnected. And sometimes I received messages from them that there are some users that you have to approve, and I'm trying to find them in the lists of users, and I just couldn't find them. So those are the things, but it's kind of tiny ones. It's not really a big things, but yeah, something with this stage where you kind of manage the participants. This is something they need to kind of improve a little bit.
Well, it's good to hear that these are tiny, because it seems like you're pretty happy with user interviews. But any feedback is good feedback, and I'm sure that if they listen to that, they will hear you.
Yeah, and this leads into another question we ask about relationships with the company. So it sounds like you talked to someone in sales, and what kind of experience have you had in general?
Well, first of all, the sales manager's name was Matt. I do remember that, and
that's great. That's a great
nice
start.
Guy. Yeah,
that's a great start.
He's a really nice guy. We had a really, I wouldn't say lovely time, because he was really, of course, he had just quick calls with lots of different clients, but he was really friendly. He helped me to go through the whole onboarding process. He was telling me, things about how we can start our projects faster, and that the company, the support team would help us to kind of, if we have any questions. He also invited me to come to the US if I would be on the West Coast. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, he was really friendly. And again, after that, when I had received an invoice, and we had some issues with payments for some reason. Like, my financial department said that we have sent the money, but for some reason they haven't seen them. They haven't just kind of received them somehow. We're still figuring out what happened there. But the thing is that they are talking about it on a very friendly manner, no rush, a lot of thank you in their sentences, in their emails. And it feels like we are partners straight from the start. So you don't need to kind of develop this long-term relationship in order to receive such positive emails. That's really cool. For me, this is something I'm looking in every single company that I work with.
Yep. Well, that's great feedback. Good to hear.
That's really great to hear. And that's also what we're looking to hear usually, because it's really important who you work with, that they will give you good service, and you will not just be left alone for your own devices. Right?
Keeping customers happy.
Keep the customers happy. So I'm looking now, and I believe that they're using Product Board for their roadmap, because it looks very familiar to me, and I use Product Board myself before, and we covered them in one of our episodes.
Yep.
But maybe that will be a new thing to do in our podcast, Matt, where we try to guess what those products are using.
There we go.
Like I looked at their console, and I believe they're using Mixpanel, for example, for their analytics. But
there we go.
Well,
that's cool.
Yeah, so it's like maybe we should start doing that.
That might be a good series.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be cool.
Yeah. Okay, great. Any more questions to Igor, Matt?
I think you mentioned insights. So if that's something they could have down the road, is something that you would find value in, as well as a repository, I believe. So those are a couple of questions that have come up. It sounds like they don't have that, but hey, there's an opportunity to grow there.
And interesting is the fact that they have an article or like a whole page that compares user interviews with user testing. So they are directly selling or comparing themselves with them, and it's interesting to see how they are thinking about user testing. They like just the first thing they have is a price, and they are saying about themselves that they are affordable, transparent, flexible, and about user testing that expensive, opaque, and bundled.
There you go.
Interesting.
Sounds like a competitive market they're in.
It truly is a competitive market because just as an example, because user interviews doesn't provide me with all the countries. I already started to testing the respondent.io service, and that's also one of the services they again straight from the name. It's about recruiting respondents, and the main barrier that I have with them currently is they need I need to top up my account before I can initiate interviews. So I can find people, I can screen them, but I won't be able to communicate with them until I will pay initial invoice. So this is one of the things why user interviews is better at, because you can very straightforwardly can find ways to do those interviews.
Very cool. Yeah, there was another. What was the other? When we spoke with Kevin, one of the companies bought another company recently. So there seems to be some ability to consolidate in this space, in this market.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Igor, for joining us today. And we want to hear more about your journey in the future, as well as we wish you peace and just everything goes back to normal, and peace for everyone in Russia and Ukraine, of course.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Thank you very much for this. Thank you for inviting me to this international podcast. It was a pleasure speaking to you, and I guess this is my first ever experience recording podcast, and it is in English straight away, so it's really cool. Yeah, and because yeah, thank you for that. And next summer I'm actually planning to come to the US again, now to kind of have a West Coast. No, this time it will be West Coast, and because I'm now a fan of hiking, I would really love to travel through national parks, because I'm kind of watching those YouTube videos of hikers
absolutely.
just filming those enormous places.
I've not done those yet in the US. I've done only in the Rockies here in Canada, which is amazing.
Okay, I will come to you too.
Yes,
well,
please do come to Toronto. Do come to Toronto.
and you can meet up with Matt on user interviews.
Yes, exactly.
On the West Coast. Take his invite.
Exactly.
Yeah, and thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much for inviting someone from Russia, because I guess this gives us an opportunity to keep those relationships. Because no matter what governments want from whatever they want, it's still about people like us who just can still communicate, still be friendly with each other. Because all of us just want peace, great, better world without those.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't have said it better. That's the truth.
Absolutely. Great.
Where can people reach you best, Igor, if they want to learn more?
Well, I guess the best way for international users, well, I guess Instagram is number one. I'm everywhere I am. It's the same nickname. It's AWASOF. It's my nickname from my teenage times.
Yeah.
Which means always with a smile on face. And
excellent.
I just love it so much, so it's still with me. So you can find me on Instagram and Facebook. I'm in LinkedIn as Igor Voloshin. I'm really kind of open-minded person with I really love to communicate with people. And if you have any questions, send me a message. Yeah, send me a message.
I was wondering about your email. That was your email, awasof@gmail.com, right?
Yeah. So this is me. This is the way, because the small story about it, if you can tell. When I was 10, I was in the US for a year. I've been studying in the Episcopal Academy in Philadelphia. And after a year in America, I went back to my hometown in Russia, and I was smiling so much. I mean, I was constantly smiling, and it was so strange for everyone else around me. And they were almost bullying me for this, because what are you laughing at? What are you smiling at? There is nothing to smile about right now. And that's why I've decided that this would be, my main thing. I
I
just,
love that.
smile at everything I've got. Everything is what I see. You still can be positive about it, even the worst things ever.
Right.
In order to just kind of, go further,
Don't worry.
and step by step figure out how to do with it.
That's a great story. That's a great
That's
story.
awesome.
We would love to keep it and everyone to learn from it.
Yep. It's a great way to end the show.
Absolutely.
It has been a pleasure. Thank you, Igor. Thank you, listeners. Thank you, Mishay. Talk to everybody next time.
Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Michelle. Goodbye.
Thank you to all the listeners. We really appreciate the feedback and support. Please leave us a review to help others find the show on Apple or Spotify or anywhere else you're listening to the show.